We welcome our next speaker, Dr. Sanjeev Patil, and he's going to show us a sentinel node guided colectomy. Dr. Patil.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Again, I'd like to thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity. So, greetings from AIG Hospitals, Hyderabad. So, I'll be showing a video on sentinel node guided biopsy. Video. So, this is coming up. See, the basic procedure of a sentinel node guided biopsy is we give a colonoscopic submucosal injection on table. Usually 4 quadrants of the injection of 0.5 ml of ICG is given, and immediately in real time this lymph node mapping is done by using a near infrared scope, and you see identify the sentinel nodes first, and those nodes are usually clipped or suture ligated to pick them post-operatively separately, and once that is done, see for any other aberrant nodes that are coming out of the resection margin. And at the end of the procedure, all the nodes that you have marked are supposed to be dissected by the surgeon and sent separately for histopathology. So the procedure is, in this video you are seeing the colonoscopic guided ICG is being given in 4 quadrants of the tumor. It can be given either submucosally or subserosally, but it is better that submucosal injections are superior to subserosal, because the spillage of the dye is sometimes happens, which may come between the mapping of the lymph nodes, because if the dye is spilled on the serosal side, then it may falsely identification of lymph nodes may be difficult. So once this is done, 0.5 cc, and again you should take care not to inject the ICG through the serosa outside, and with the near infrared scope now the lymph node mapping is being done. So once the lymph nodes are identified, you can suture ligate, whether it is open or laparoscopic surgery. In this particular video, it is an open case where we are marking those sentinel nodes. Once the nodes are marked, then the procedure is standard. You go ahead and do a radical colectomy, either right or left based on the tumor. So we have marked all of them. Sometimes you may encounter some incidental finding of a metastatic disease in the omentum. Even in a particular case, we were able to identify some of the ICG spots on the omentum. A targeted biopsy can be taken from here. And following this, you go ahead with a standard radical hemicolectomy, total mesocolic excision with central vascular ligation. So because the previous video was also of a hemicolectomy, so I am cutting down my video only showing the radical part of the resection, central vascular ligation here. So the superior mesenteric vein, the right border of the superior mesenteric vein is identified first, and all the lymph nodes on to the right of the superior mesenteric vein are dissected, and vascular ligation is done at the origin, that is central vascular ligation. So now you can see the superior mesenteric vein there. Slowly and steadily you have to creep upon the vein to identify the ileocolic vein. In this video I have cut it down, as I told previously, the lateral dissection is done first, and then the posterior, that is Gerota's fascia and the duodenum, is reached first, and then we go ahead with this central vascular ligation. So you can see the ileocolic vessels coming into view now. So it has been seen that central vascular ligation and total mesocolic excision has superior results to standard hemicolectomy, both the survival as well as long-term recurrence rates. The ileocolic vein is ligated here. And proceed further, you can see the duodenum there posteriorly. If you are finding any nodes out of this resection margin, then those nodes have to be separately picked and sent, or your resection margin should extend. Suppose you are planning for a right hemicolectomy and you see nodes beyond that, then you may have to go ahead and do a extended right hemicolectomy. That is one of the advantages of a sentinel node guided biopsy. Now the right ileocolic artery is taken down. The duodenum is separated and reaching the lower pancreatic duodenal groove. So actually sentinel node doesn't guide a surgery, but surgery is standard, but definitely it has its own role, like the margin, resection margin may extend in few cases, or you may find nodes outside your resection thing, and the main advantage of this is upstaging of a tumor, that I'll be explaining later. And now you can see the right colic vein there. So once we reach this part, we prefer to go ahead and dissect the gastrocolic trunk and then take down the right colic vein. This is the right colic artery here. You can see the gastrocolic trunk there, the epiploic and the right colic vein joining together. So once this is done, then the gastrocolic dissection is started. So separate the colon from the duodenum. The epiploic vessels are separated. The plane between the hepatic flexure and the duodenum is entered. Now you can see the gastrocolic trunk. That is the right colic vein there. Posterior to it is the pancreaticoduodenal vein there, which is entering the supramesenteric vein, gastrocolic trunk. And now we take down the right colic vein. There is an accessory right colic there, beyond the right colic. And you can see the epiploic vein onto the right side, which has to be spared. That is the accessory right. And you proceed further and spare the gastroepiploic. Yeah. So this is how the central vascular ligation is done. So I restricted my video because of the previous video. You can see the gastroepiploic taking a turn onto the stomach. So this is how the radical resection is complete, and all the sentinel lymph nodes are separated and sent separately for histopathology. So initially all the lymph nodes are sent where HND staining is done. If the non-sentinel lymph nodes are negative and the sentinel lymph nodes are positive, then there is no further workup required. That means the patient is node positive. If both the nodes, both sentinel and non-sentinel nodes are negative, then you will have to go ahead and do a detailed sectioning of the sentinel lymph nodes. So the difference here is sentinel lymph nodes are sectioned every 2 millimeters, and each 2 millimeter section is again resectioned into 150 microns, that is 0.15 millimeters, and each section is studied separately. 2 are sent for H&E staining. If it is positive, then the nodes are positive and further workup is stopped, or if it is negative, then go ahead and do a IHC using pan-cytokeratin. If that is positive, again you take it as a positive node. So this is how the procedure is done. The sentinel lymph nodes, as I explained, 2 millimeter sections. Each 2 millimeter is again resectioned into 150 microns and further subject to histopathology. This can be done routinely, but the issue is it is a cumbersome process and the cost involved, so you can't do this for all the nodes. So that is the importance of doing a sentinel lymph node mapping and doing this. In this particular case, we had a prospective study in our unit where this is presented in the Sunday in the free paper session. So in our study, we came to know that approximately around 10% of the patients were upstaged. That is, node negative disease became a node positive disease. And now it is clearly shown that micrometastasis can exist, and if there is micrometastasis, it is taken as a positive lymph node. That is, clump of cells of more than 20 or a deposit of more than 0.2 mm or less than 2 mm. This is taken as micrometastasis. So if that is there in these sentinel nodes, then you have to take it as a positive node and the stage becomes upstaged. So the main benefit of it is around 20 to 30% of patients who are T1, T2 node negative still develop recurrence or distant metastasis. One of the reasons being either it is a missed node or you are in the histopathology, you are not able to pick up the disease. So such disease can be picked here, and approximately in our study 10% of those patients ended up being positive. So the main benefit is these patients end up in the adjuvant chemotherapy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, are there any other advantages intra-op apart from the occasional extra sites which you pick up because of the dye staining?
No, there are definitely advantages, sir. When we give ICG, it is given here intratumorally. You can give it IV as well in the same patient, and you can assess the vascularity of the anastomosis. That is well being shown. So objectively, the vascularity of the anastomosis, both the ends of the anastomosis, whether it is vascular or not, can be assessed by ICG.
That is for the ICG, but for the node mapping,
yes.
Although you said that the final yield and the final study post-operatively is of benefit, right?
Yes.
That is the main advantage. The operation remains the standard.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, if that is also, is there any other advantage apart from the mapping intraoperatively? In other words, apart from the cost, would this be a standard of care in future?
This should, I think, this should become the standard of care in future, because
I'm just
not much
speculating. You know?
Yes, yes, because most of the camera lab sets now have integrated ICG systems now, and it is not much of a cost, just an injection which has to be given pre-operatively, so no much of a cost involved, so it has to become the standard.
Actually, this is like an image guided sampling. It's not actually sentinel node. Because your surgeries remain same. And even if we remove the first echelon of nodes, we can do ultra staging with or without this technique. So what did you do for those ultra staging done cases and positive? Has it changed the prognosis? Have you compared in your arms like routine radical surgery, the lymph nodes, and the sentinel node, only the sentinel node ultra staging? Has it changed the prognosis? This is that the paper is sentinel node, but actually it's not a sentinel node. Sentinel node, it's an image guided surgery for the pathological analysis. Actually speaking, the surgery has remained the same, and these nodes anyway we remove. So you are looking into the pathological implications of ultra staging, actually speaking.
I couldn't hear actually. When do you inject the peritumoral ICG?
Submucosally, colonoscopy guided.
When? I mean, how much time?
On table.
On table.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question, please? Over the back.
Sir, please.
I also wanted to know what was the result of the omentum that you had taken out.
It was positive.
It was positive.
Yes.
So this is one aspect.
No, this was just for in one particular one case. We were not expecting that, suddenly we found it out.
And why can't the nodes which are in the vicinity of the tumor can be ultra staged in any case, without that image guidance?
No, I didn't get the question, sir.
See, you say that because it is image guidance, you can do some ultra sectioning of the lymph nodes. So in suspected case, you can in any case do that. So how would this give us an advantage?
See, if on regular histopathology, all the nodes are negative, then ultra staging can't be done for all the nodes because the cost is involved and it is a tedious job.
So they are only sectioning the positive nodes that they see on ICG, pick up a 2, 3 and then they are sectioning.
Selectively they are studying the sentinel.
Dr. H. Ramesh wants to ask a question.
So I have a question. You have done, if you are doing a radical colectomy, if that is your main aim of the operation, and if you have done a sentinel mapping, what percentage of cases did you find lymph nodes outside your radical colectomy? Did you have that observation? Then that is a reasonable explanation for why you should do it. If your radical colectomy is going to have, with central vascular ligation, is going to get all the lymph nodes anyway, then why? If it is beyond that regularly, then you have to re-examine the role of surgery itself.
Yes.
Then you will have to think of chemotherapy perhaps.
Correct.
Can you answer this question, please?
Yes. See, in the presentation also I mentioned that in one case we found, suppose we find this outside, then the resection margin itself can be altered. If you are planning for a standard right hemicolectomy and see it beyond, then you may change your plan to an extended right hemicolectomy.
1 out of?
1 out of 32.
So, second is, are you suggesting that for a right colon tumor, you would do an intraoperative colonoscopy first under anesthesia and then go on to do a lap right hemicolectomy?
Yes, sir.
And even if you use CO2, there's going to be some distension residually which is going to interfere with your surgery?
No, we have done it in all 32 cases and we have not found any significant, but obviously colonoscopy has to be done swiftly, fastly as we are able to do it at our institute. But you can't struggle with colonoscopy, waste a lot of time, which may, as you told sir, it can cause carbon dioxide as well as insufflation of the bowel. But in expert hands, I think we never had a problem.
Can I have a last question? I think I had the same question as Dr. Ramesh. But historically, if you go back to late 90s, when this thing just started, the concept came into the books. If you put the dye in the rectal cancer, you can find a node in the splenic flexure, historically, Now, if you believe the Japanese literature, the D1 nodes do not go beyond 10 centimeter from the feeding vessel to the tumor. So, question to you is, once the specimen is out, you draw 10 centimeter beyond the tumor, and at that point you come back to the central vessel, okay? Now, beyond that fat, did you have any tumors?
Beyond one case, we thought it was one node. In one particular case, we found it that whatever, this is the standard central vascular ligation that we follow, but beyond that, just onto the left side of that, we found the node. So that was picked separately and sent for histopathology. We never extended our surgery as such.
I think it's an interesting concept, but the question is, do all micromets become a met? Thank you.
That is another issue.
So ICG, I think it's a newer technique that is available and has been tried in all the surgeries. And now we will soon realize in some cases it would be helpful, in some cases it won't be helpful. So we are finding reasons to use it because it is available. So right now we are at that state. In future, we may also have evidence in favor or against that. So right now we don't have. We can use it. It's a simple technique. So that is why everybody is trying to use it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Patil. I think we should close this session. I thank all the presenters, my co-chairpersons, as well as all of you for a patient hearing. Thank you.